They had conquered 17 star systems before they found Earth. They were ancient beings with ships made of black metal and weapons that could crack planets open like eggs. For 10,000 years they had moved across the galaxy, taking everything they wanted. No species had ever stopped them. No species had ever tried twice. When their scout ships detected Earth, they laughed. The blue planet had primitive radio signals leaking into space. Its people had barely touched their own moon. Their weapons were chemical explosions and metal bullets. The High Command did not even bother sending their war fleet. They sent 3 ships. Just 3. It would be enough. Commander stood on the bridge of the lead vessel as Earth grew larger in the viewing screen. He had burned worlds before. He had watched civilizations fall in single afternoons. This small blue planet would be no different. The humans had no shields, no orbital defenses, no faster-than-light communication. They were alone and helpless. The first shot came without warning on a Tuesday morning in March. A beam of pure energy fell from the sky and erased New York City in 7 seconds. 8 million people turned to ash before they could scream. The heat was so intense that it created a glass crater where Manhattan had stood. The shockwave knocked down buildings in New Jersey and sent a tsunami crashing into the Atlantic coast. Before the dust could settle, more beams fell. London vanished. Tokyo disappeared. Moscow became a memory. Beijing, Mumbai, Cairo, Sydney, they all died in fire that afternoon. They did not ask for surrender. They did not send messages or demands. They simply burned and burned and burned. By nightfall, 2 billion humans were dead. The survivors ran into the countryside, into the mountains, into the forests. They hid in caves and tunnels and basements. They watched the sky with terror because death came from above without any sound. The ships hung in orbit like patient predators. They took their time. There was no rush. Where would the humans go? But something they did not expect began happening in those first dark days. The humans did not surrender. They did not break into chaos and turn on each other. Instead, they got angry. A cold, quiet anger that spread through the broken remains of humanity like fire through dry grass. Generals who had lost everything sat down with scientists who had lost more. Engineers who had watched their families die began to work. Captain Maria Santos of the Mexican Navy gathered survivors in the mountains outside Monterrey. General Wei of China led his remaining soldiers into the deep tunnels of the Himalayas. Dr. James Walker, a physicist from Australia, had been camping in the outback when Sydney died. He walked for 3 days to find other survivors. He carried his laptop and a notebook full of calculations. They all asked the same question: how do we fight gods? The answer came from watching the enemy. A young soldier named noticed something strange about the alien beams. They always struck the same way. Same angle, same power, same duration. They were using the same weapon settings for everything. They were not adapting. They did not need to. No one had ever given them a reason to change their methods. This told the humans something important. They were powerful, but they were also lazy. They had not faced a real fight in centuries. Their technology was ancient and unchanged because it had always been enough. They had stopped innovating. They had stopped thinking. Humanity had never stopped thinking. It was the only thing they were truly good at. In the caves and bunkers, human scientists began reverse engineering the alien weapons. They could not copy them, but they could study the energy signatures. They found weaknesses. The alien shields operated on a specific frequency. If you hit that frequency exactly right, the shields flickered for half a second. Half a second was enough. General Santos became the leader of the resistance, not because she asked for the job, but because she refused to stop fighting. She organized the scattered human groups into cells. She created communication networks using old copper wire buried underground. She made sure the scientists had food while they worked. She made hard decisions and never complained. The first counterattack came 4 months after the invasion began. A team of 30 soldiers in Brazil fired a modified missile at a passing scout drone. The missile should not have been able to touch the drone, but Dr. Walker had modified its warhead with a frequency disruptor. The alien shield flickered. The missile hit. The drone fell from the sky in pieces. It was the first time in 10,000 years that a machine had been destroyed by a primitive species. Commander received the report with confusion. His officers suggested the drone had malfunctioned. Surely the humans could not have actually shot it down, accepted this explanation. It was easier than admitting the truth. This was his first mistake. The humans attacked again 2 weeks later. This time they destroyed 3 drones. A month after that, they brought down a patrol ship with a captured alien weapon they had learned to operate. The pilot lived long enough to send a confused message to his commanders. He could not understand what was happening. The primitives were supposed to be hiding and dying. They were supposed to be afraid. But humans had always been best at adapting. They were small and weak compared to many species. They had no natural weapons, no armor, no poison. What they had was a brain that never stopped solving problems. Every failure taught them something. Every defeat made them more determined. The underground factories started producing new weapons. They were crude and ugly compared to alien technology, but they worked. The engineers built missiles that could track alien energy signatures. They built jammers that confused alien sensors. They built armor that could resist 1 or 2 seconds of alien beam weapons. 1 or 2 seconds did not sound like much, but it was enough time for a human soldier to fire back. Commander finally realized the danger 6 months into the occupation. By then, his forces had lost 18 drones, 4 patrol ships, and 200 soldiers. The numbers were small compared to his total strength, but the trend was terrifying. The losses were increasing every month. The humans were getting better while his soldiers remained the same. He requested reinforcements from the high command. They laughed at him. How could a species that had not reached the stars pose any threat, was told to finish the job with what he had? So he tried. He launched a massive assault on the suspected human bases in South America. His ships burned the mountains from orbit. His soldiers landed in the ashes to confirm the kills. The humans had already evacuated. They had learned to read alien movement patterns. They had learned to hide in ways they could not detect. And when the alien ground soldiers spread out to search the ruins, the humans struck from tunnels they had dug in secret. They lost 2,000 soldiers that day. It was the worst single defeat in their military history. Now the high command listened. They sent the war fleet. 50 massive warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel and filled Earth's orbit. Commander smiled when he saw them arrive. Finally, he would have the forces to crush these stubborn primitives once and for all. But 3 years had passed since the first shot burned Earth's cities. Humanity had not wasted a single day. Dr. Walker had cracked the secret of alien shield technology. Generals' factories had produced thousands of new weapons. Captain Santos had trained an army of 10 million survivors who fought like demons and feared nothing because they had already lost everything. Most importantly, the humans had learned to build starships. They were not pretty. They were welded together from alien wreckage and human stubbornness. Their engines were barely stable. Their life support systems were unreliable, but they flew, and they carried weapons that could hurt The war fleet attacked Earth expecting easy victory. They found a planet that fought back with everything it had. Human ships rose from hidden launch sites on every continent. They swarmed the formation like angry insects. They crashed into alien shields with suicidal determination. They fired weapons that should not have existed. Commander watched in horror as his reinforcements began to fall. 1 warship exploded, then another, then 5 more. The humans took terrible losses, but they kept coming. They did not retreat. They did not surrender. They just kept fighting until there was nothing left of them to fight with. The battle lasted 3 days. When it ended, the fleet was reduced to a handful of crippled ships trying to escape. Commander's flagship was the last one capable of faster-than-light travel. He ordered a desperate retreat back to space. He never made it. Captain Santos herself led the final pursuit. Her ship was held together with prayer and welding wire. Half her crew was dead. Her engines were failing, but she had enough power for one last shot. The beam struck flagship as it tried to spin up its escape drive. The alien shields flickered and failed. The ship broke apart in a silent explosion against the black background of space. Commander had time for one final thought before the void took him. He wondered how this had happened. He wondered where the had gone wrong. The answer was simple, though he would never understand it. They had forgotten how to struggle. They had conquered so easily for so long that they had forgotten what it meant to face a species that would not stop fighting. They had made the mistake of thinking technology alone was enough. Humans had no such illusions. Humans knew that survival meant adapting, learning, and never giving up no matter how hopeless things seemed. They had climbed out of caves and conquered their own world through pure stubborn determination. The galaxy was just a bigger challenge. The last shot of the war was fired by Captain Santos at exactly 3:47 a.m. on a Thursday morning, 4 years after the invasion began. The war cost humanity billions of lives and nearly destroyed their planet. But when the dust settled and the silence came, it was humans who remained standing. They buried their dead, they rebuilt their cities, and they looked up at the stars with new eyes. The universe had tried to kill them and failed. Now humanity was coming for the universe. They had taught them a valuable lesson. There were predators among the stars who saw younger species as prey. Humanity would make sure no one made that mistake again. Their first shot had burned Earth cities. Their last shot had been fired by humans, and humans never forgot a lesson paid for in blood.